and welcome to Top Fives, the show of everything. Top Fives, presented by the Sex Effects. I'm Joey Prati.
And I'm Sean Day.
And you are in for a special treat this evening.
Oh boy.
Joining us, Jonathan, I'm going to let you do the honors and introduce our guest tonight.
Joining us is my father and probably a loyal listener to our podcast as well. So
one of the few.
We have my dad, Mr. Mike Day, on the show tonight.
Yes.
Oh, so happy to be here, fellas, to bring some culture to this thing finally. It's going to be a welcome relief for those other people that do listen to this podcast.
Yeah.
And for those that don't know, it's actually you can watch it now. It's really not a podcast anymore.
Yeah.
It feels like something else.
It's a show.
I've got
now.
my spooky blue eyes as well. Ooh.
There you go. I like that.
Superhero. Ooh.
That's real nice.
Nice. Well,
I told Sean when we were setting this thing up. I told Sean, I said, there's a bit of a problem. I mean, I'm okay with the Zoom and everything because I spend half my day on it anyway. But then I suddenly realized I'm at home. I don't have any, I don't have any lights. I don't have a microphone, so I'm actually dialed in on my phone right now, which makes it a lot easier for me.
It's all good. It's all
nice.
Good.
So we just conquered a few technical obstacles, and here we are.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we do.
We're glad to have you on, Dad. And we've had you on before, right? On the show.
Yes, you have.
Oh, this is a long-awaited episode.
I brought my own sound effects.
Yes.
There's nothing in it, but I just figured I wanted something that could go like this. I want to be like Joey.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone wants to be like me. It's wild.
Yeah, we're excited.
We're very excited.
Kind of looking forward to this one for a minute. And yeah, I think, it's about time, I would say. So
I think it's past time. The last time we did this, I want to say was Black Friday 2016, 2017. Hey, we know that picture.
Oh, Black Friday. That's right.
That's all I do is just watch that show all the time.
It's not bad. It's it's been fun. It's been fun giving people a visual, I think, and there's comedic cues, I think, from both of us that you wouldn't get just listening to it. So not necessarily comedic, but reactionary. And sometimes that's necessary. So I think the show is the full experience now. I don't know.
Yeah, no doubt.
No doubt.
Yes.
And of course, for the ladies out there, I'm a welcome improvement.
Oh, big time. I think combined we made up like a 4.
Yeah.
Right.
And now we're at least
that's our
6.
rating.
We're a 4.5.
Yeah.
4.5.
Yeah. Exciting, guys. Yeah.
Yeah. We were planning on having this episode kind of be the Mr. Day, Mike Day extravaganza, the storyteller. You are I don't know how to say this word, a raconteur of sorts. You spin a yarn, and I'm not saying that they're false. I'm just saying you tell stories very well. And you've had some experiences in your life, and we're very looking forward to hearing about maybe the top 5 of those experiences.
Well, I think one of the things is I've surrounded myself over the years with interesting people, and I think that leads to a lot of really interesting stories. I've also had an unusual and maybe a little bit different career trajectory to some folks. I started out as a registered nurse, and then after I worked for a couple of years as a registered nurse, I went off to do my psychiatric qualification. It's the equivalent to, in England, to a registered nurse, only in the field of psychiatry. So I spent some time there as well. And a couple of the stories I'm going to tell, or at least one of them I'm going to tell tonight, references back to that time. But I Joe, you've met some of the people, like when we went to see Arctic Monkeys, you met some of those, you met people. Sean, you've met some of my friends, and you've met Pete and people like that, back in Sheffield. I've always been around a lot of interesting people, and even out here, I kind of still gravitate towards people who are maybe a little bit off kilter. and I think musicians are a big part of that. So yeah, and actually, I think well, I'm going to. This is my first story, and what I'm going to propose, and I hope you guys are okay with this, is maybe I'll tell a story, and then you tell a story, and then I'll tell a story, and then Sean can tell a story, and then I'll finish up with a story.
This sounds good. I like this.
So my first one comes from a time when I was working at a place called the Northern General Psychiatric Unit, and as part of this very acute facility where we dealt with people who had, fairly significant acute psychiatric emergencies. We also had a place where people went to spend a little bit more time kind of decompressing, and they weren't as visibly ill. Often we were getting some social help and that kind of stuff. And when we worked there, we just wore our street clothes. It was a very relaxed environment. You could smoke. The staff used to smoke. In fact, sometimes it was a little difficult to differentiate the staff from the patients because everybody was in their street clothes and everybody was smoking. And so, it was kind of a little bit interesting. So one of the great things was that my shift finished around 9:30 when I worked in the evening, which gave my friend Steve a chance to come over and pick me up, and we could then dash to town, get a couple of beers in, and then go to a club. And hopefully I wasn't working early the next morning, and we'd be able to do all this good stuff. So what I would do is I'd bring a change of clothes, and we had a staff changing room that had a shower and towels and stuff in there. And so if my shift finished at 9:30, about 9:15, I'd just kind of dash off, rip off all my work clothes, put my good stuff on that I'd had hanging up in this place all day long. And then I'd walk back upstairs, say goodbye to everybody, and I'd be out the door, and I was going off to a night of pure merriment, to be honest. It was crazy. So I said to everybody, okay, I'm just going to disappear for 5 minutes, just kind of keep an eye on things. I go to the room where everything is all prepared beautifully for me, and there's my trousers, and there's no shirt. It's gone, right? Now, the rest of the clothes I'm wearing, they're not suitable for going out at night in. Plus, I've been in a smoke-filled environment with a bunch of maniacs all day long, so that's probably not good either. So I stormed back out, and I said, right, gather everybody up together, all the patients. And they all gathered up, and they're all looking, like, what's going on? I said, right, who's got my shirt? I know one of you sons of guns has taken it. Who's got my shirt? And everybody, and you have to imagine that some of these people were depressed, and so some of them were not really paying, they didn't look like they were really bothered about the whole thing, not realizing that I was having an acute psychiatric emergency myself, because they were cutting into the time that I needed to go out and have fun. Right, I said, get to the other staff, search everywhere, okay? Get all the lockers open. I want to see because somebody's got it. I know somebody's got it. And I was just furious, and I knew I was getting late on time as well, so I'm running all over the place. And I don't know for what reason, I just walked we had like a laundry room. And in the corner of the room was like a large basin with a bunch of sheets that somebody had just soiled earlier in the day. And so they were soaking them to try and get all the soil out. And in the corner of this soiled monstrosity, I could see the corner of my shirt sticking out of this thing. And I was just like, what? So I get a pair of gloves and I reach in there and I grab this thing, and it's in the shitty water basically. Oh my God. So now I have to throw it in the washing machine, put it on like a rapid thing, get it out. Okay, so put it in a thing with about 500 of those, things, and I'm already now half an hour late or something like that. I'll never find out who's done it, even though I want to absolutely strangle whoever it was at the time. And so eventually we get out, we've missed the bar, but we end up going to the nightclb. And it's like the worst night of my life, because all night long I'm going like this. Yeah, how are you? You're all right. And that was one of a million things that happened to me at that place. That one is kind of safe for work. Many of them weren't. But we had some amazing times, and we really had some amazing people there. Met some really wonderful staff members that were very committed to mental health, including Sean's uncle Jonathan, my uncle Glenn, and then my grandparents both worked at a psychiatric hospital as well, which probably explains a lot about all of us now I think about it. We gravitate towards people who are kind of strange. So but that's the first of my stories. It just made me think of another one as well while I was at it.
Oh.
Oh, do tell.
Which is, well, actually, I will do it. It's the same place, only on a different ward. So there were 4 units there, and they were kind of stacked on top of each other. This one time I was working night shift, and the unit, we were packed, a lot of very sick people. And when we got really, really busy like that, what we do is we take our better patients who were, probably presented less of a danger to other people and were not as acutely sick, and we would move them downstairs to an area that had mostly women who were suffering what's called puerperal psychosis, when they have like a psychotic incident after they've given birth. So I'm working upstairs in the acute unit, and it's 3 o'clock in the morning, something like that. And the phone rings, and they're like, "Get down here now. We've got a massive problem." So there's a backstairs. I dash down the back stairs, and I open the door, and right in front of me is like a barricade of chairs, and behind it is this guy, and he's got a big, those 2-liter like Coke bottles. Well, they used to be glass before. So he's got one of those, and he's like smashed it, and he's going, "Come on, come on," and he looks like a maniac. And I'm thinking, oh God, 3 o'clock in the morning as well, he's waking everybody up. So I said, "Okay, listen, mate." I said, first thing, I said, you can't be behaving like this. And in psychiatry, a lot of the work that you do is to kind of, work out little deals, if you like. I said, you can't do this. I said, what's going on here? He said, well, I wanted to listen to some music, and they won't let me listen to it because it's 3 o'clock in the morning. I mean, and there's other people asleep in that area. Yeah, I said, well, I can empathize with that. I said, I love to listen to music myself, and I said, but nothing's going to happen while you're throwing that, big bottle around. So, the first thing is you need to put that down, and let's go somewhere where we can talk a little bit more about your behavior tonight. And I said, if you put the bottle down and your behavior's okay, I'll get you some music. You can listen to it for a while, and then it'll be off to bed kind of thing. He said, okay, yeah. So we go off to this little side room. It's actually it's not a padded cell, but it's a very safe room with soft furniture and things like that. With one probably noticeable difference from a lot of places in America, that they have like a little button on the wall, and you press it, and like a coil lights up briefly so you can light cigarettes, because all the patients used to smoke. Cool little feature. So I get like a small boombox, and I tell him, okay, listen, here's the problem. Your behavior was entirely inappropriate. You can't be doing all this waving glass around and all this kind of stuff. It's crazy. But I'll let you listen to some music for a little while, and then tomorrow, you're going to get your ass kicked basically, because you have to meet with the entire team and explain your actions for tonight. Oh, I'm so sorry. He said, I don't know what came over me. I'm just, it's terrible. Blah, blah, blah. I said, listen, good. Keep the music nice and low, and half an hour you can head off to bed, kind of thing. Great, thanks. Really appreciate it. He said, thanks so much. I walk down the hallway. I get about 5 yards outside the door, and he puts the music up to like 11. So, and it's 3:30 in the morning now. So I run back in there, open the door, turn the music down. And I said, okay, listen, we've got this deal, right? And, it's up to you to keep your side of the bargain. It's a two-way deal. Otherwise, if you keep breaking the agreement, it's off to bed now. There's no music, and it's all done, and you're in even more trouble tomorrow than you're already in. Okay, I'm really sorry. He said, I don't know what came over me. You're not like me at all. Okay, put the music on at 3 or something like that. He's listening away. I go outside. I get about twice as far down the hallway this time, and it's just straight back up, fully cranked up, top volume. Oh my God! I said, what's wrong with this guy? So I go back in there, and I said, okay, and this repeats one more time. So the third time I go in, I tell him, okay, the deal's off. Okay, you have violated our agreement. I'm taking the music away, and when I come back, you're off to bed. And I walk back down, and I'm telling these other people, nurses and stuff, blah, 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 blah. And all of a sudden, there's just this horrific shriek. And it's like, if you have kids, you'll know what this is like. There's like when your kids fall over and it's no big deal. And there's something that you're like, oh no. they broke their arm or something, or killed somebody or something like that. Something bad happened. So I go running back down and I fling open the door, and the guy is laying on his back and he's on fire.
What?
Right? He is on fire. He's like his pants. What he's done is he's pressed this thing, lit something, and then set himself on fire. So his pants are like, and he's screaming, "I'm on fire!" Like I can't tell. So I reach outside. There's thank God, one of those ADC fire extinguishers, and I just blasted him from head to toe with this thing. And he was sitting there, and it was like one of those comedy shows, you know, where they blink, and you can, but his head is covered in foam. His whole body was covered in this ADC foam. And I'm actually about ready to kill him as well, because I'm just furious with this guy now, you know. And then I look at him and I just think, oh my God, he was on fire. You know, I hope he's okay. And I said to him, you know, are you okay? And he's just like, I was on fire. You know, I go, why did you do that? So I said, listen, I'm going to take him quickly. The emergency room was literally across the street. So we run across the street with this guy and we walk in, and it's quite busy, the emergency room. And I just realized we must just look. I mean, this guy looks like Robinson Crusoe with the tattered trousers. They're still smoldering a bit. He's covered, the entire front of his body is covered in foam, but if he turns around, it's just completely normal. He looks like it, and they just go, psychiatric unit? And I went, yeah. And they just took us straight in the back. That was that one.
Wow.
That's a good story.
Jesus Christ.
I like how that cigarette lighter thing kind of came back in the room.
Yeah. Right.
Man.
Never introduced it down in the first act.
I shortened that story to make it more palatable.
There we go.
Oh no. Oh no. What was left out?
Yeah.
That's the question.
That was a good story.
Oh man. That was a good story.
Yeah.
And it's amazing because so you know, Shawnee and I have been friends for 25, 26 years now. So I've heard a lot of stories, but these two are new, and I'm really happy about that.
Yeah, yeah. You guys want to tell? You want to tell a story?
Oh man.
Or you want another one?
We gotta. I mean, I don't know. We were talking off air about possible stories.
I don't know that I have 5 that are like safe for podcast SFP, but I mean, I've got a couple that are, you know, on the edge that I think we can probably tell.
Okay.
So, this is a fun one because this actually does involve the 3 of us, plus Miles, who Sean lived with in college for a number of years.
Right.
We partied the night before at University of Santa Cruz. Hungovers as shit. We take the one all the way, and we're at your guys' place. Sean has a orthodontist appointment in the morning, and the deposit for housing was due Sunday night. So the plan was that Sean was going to come back to Monterey on his own, but me and Miles were going to go back to Monterey and pay all the deposits. Yesterday, you gave me cash, and we're like, this is Sean's deposit. Please get the money in on time. And I was like, of course. He's like, this is his deposit. Don't lose this money. I was like, I'm the most trustworthy, responsible out of ever. Yes, of course. I've got this. And we're trying to figure out what to do that night. We weren't yet 21, so it's not like we could go to the bars. We decided to go to North Beach. We decided to go to Broadway. We decided to go to the strip club. We went to the Roaring 20s, and Miles had never been to a strip club before. And I don't know that you had either, Shawnee. I think it might have been both of you guys' first time.
Yeah.
It was maybe my second or third. But we're there, you know, and I'm like, at this point, I've been to a strip club 2 or 3 times. It's old hat. I know that, you know, I'm not going to pay for a private dance. I'm going to sit there with my buddies at the table and here's
just
one. Just chill. Well, we're all at kind of different tables and stuff. And I remember Miles coming up to me. And he goes, yo, 2 strippers. They're gonna give us a dance at the same time. I was like, I don't think they do that, dude. He's like, yes, I already talked to them. They're gonna do 2 strippers at the same time. We needed $100. I go, I don't have $100, Miles. I'm not spending $100. He goes, Sean said we could use the deposit of cash. and we'll pay him back in the morning. I was like, no. He's like, yeah. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, come on. I was like, cool. So it's
Cool.
$100.
That sounds plausible.
Yeah. The
That
deal
sounds
was,
so plausible.
two private
Should I-
dances in one room for $100.
Mhm.
And we get to the top of the stairs, and they start to separate, and we stop them. We go, no, we're going to be in the same. This is a twofer. This is or a 2 for 2. And they go, no, we don't do that here. So Miles took 80 and left me with 20. And do you know what the $20 gets you? Fucking nothing. She didn't even take her top off. It was just her dancing for me. I was like, look, I don't really want to do this. Like, you can keep the 20. I want to go back downstairs. She's like, when the dance is over. I'm like, fuck Miles.
Right.
So I go downstairs and I find Shawnee, and I go, Sean. He goes, hey man. I was like, hey, thank you so much. He's like, what are you talking about? I go, for the dance. He's like, what are you talking about? I said, Miles said that we could use your cash. He's like, no, I didn't. I didn't say that, dude. What are you talking about, dude? Dude. Miles comes down the stairs, happiest man in the world. He's like, yo, that was amazing. That was so incredible. Miles, the other wrinkle in this story is that Miles had left his wallet in Santa Cruz the night before.
Oh, yeah.
So we get back to your... Yeah, we were like, I was like, dude, you got to pay Sean back. He's like, yeah, we'll stop at Santa Cruz on the way back to Monterey, get my wallet. We got to drive to Pebble Beach because that's where the only bank for him was, and then go back to Monterey and pay the deposit before the offices close at like 4:00 or whatever it was. Yeah, so we go back to your guys' place. We're drinking Heinekens all night. We get wasted. We're hungover, shit. We have to take the one the entire way back because we have to stop at Santa Cruz campus, to get Miles's wallet, to get back to Pebble Beach, to get back to Monterey. And I remember we're driving to Santa Cruz. I don't remember if it was before Santa Cruz or after, but we're on the one-way road, can't get around. There's just truck, like an old truck from is it from the 50s or the 70s? I don't know, but he's definitely maybe a gardener, maybe once upon a time, just going 15 miles an hour on the one, and we're just hungover as fuck. And we're like, are you kidding me?
Let's go any longer.
And I'm trying to get around this guy. He's swerving when I swerve, blah, blah. He's finally getting sick of my shit, and he stops on his brake and blocks us from going any further. And he gets out, and then me and Miles were like, no, fuck that. We got out, and we looked at him. He got back in his car and went off. But yeah, we got Miles's wallet. We got to Pebble Beach. He got the money. We got back with 5-10 minutes to spare. He got the deposit money in.
Got it in on time.
Got it
just
in.
Made it.
Yeah, just made it.
Just made it.
So
that reminds me of a quick story. It's related to strip clubs. A friend of mine who will go unnamed had his bachelor party in Las Vegas. Actually, a couple of days before he got married, which was rather foolish, but given my history of bachelor parties. But it was a great time. But we ended up at a place called Sapphires. It's like a basketball court or something, sized place, just filled with really smoking hot young women from Las Vegas and around the country, I guess.
I believe you've taken us there, possibly in a limo.
Yeah, possibly. Anyway, so on this particular occasion, we picked up this guy's brother and a few of his, uncles and things like that. And so we got there. And, as we're just sitting before we even barely got a drink, the brother's up and off with the first girl that comes over. And, and he's having a great time. So we could get a few drinks and, I'm just kind of making sure everybody's doing okay. And then the brother comes back with the girl, and she's like, he's not paid me yet. And we had 7 dances. And I told him, dude, you got to pay her. And he goes, you don't have to pay, do you? And I go, what? Are you a moron? Sorry, rhetorical question. And he thought it was free.
Nothing's ever free.
What? That's not how that works.
So I had to rip out, some of the old emergency cash for idiot money, and pay this young woman off and tip her before the bouncers came over and ripped it, this guy's brother, whose bachelor party was, limb from limb. Took him out and have a little dusting outside. So that was kind of one of those that, oops, it almost went a little bit wrong there. it was just like an episode of Gigolos, Joey, to be honest.
Man, I've been watching so much Gigolos. I've been crushing Gigolos. It's yes.
That is just it's the most awful show ever, isn't it?
It's like, but you can't. It's amazing. It's pure.
It's hypnotic. It's hypnotic, man.
It's just get it like into the veins.
I completely agree.
Yeah, I'm so glad. Jonathan, do you have a fun story?
I feel like we've told this one before, but to preface it, we were at Outside Lands in San Francisco at the Golden Gate Park, and I think it was like 2011. I think that was the year 2011, Joe. It was cool. Outside Lands, a 3-day festival, and I think they're still, I mean, not this year, but they're still doing it year for year. There we go. That's proof, and there's a little autograph if you guys don't see it. And I guess the quick story was
I see.
Mick Jones from The Clash, and I guess Big Audio Dynamite, which was the band he was playing in at the time. I think they played like the first day, or it was like the first or second day, which was super cool. I think, we had a great time, and it was just kind of amazing to see Mick Jones up there, like one of the surviving Clash members. And I think it was the second day, because it was a 3-day festival. We were walking around randomly. I think we were all kind of feeling a little rough, just from exhaustion of being there for a few days.
Who knows what?
And who knows what, if we were intoxicated or not. But so we were just kind of like just walking around, exploring the grounds. And, it's so cool. It's Golden Gate Park. It's full of interesting things. And what do you know? We see this this kind of gentleman in front of us, and he has a pinstripe suit. And immediately, I think we both just like looked at each other, like, holy shit!
I grabbed you by the backpack and I rocketed you back and forth.
Holy shit! That's freaking Mick Jones, dude. And this wasn't the same day he performed, so this was kind of cool. He was kind of, I guess, maybe just walking around enjoying some.
He was just hanging out,
He was just hanging out.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We had like one of those moments, and we just said, well, we have to go up to him and say something or do something.
Yeah.
And we ended up getting his autograph and talking to him for like a second.
So cool.
He wouldn't shake our hands. He just kept saying, "You're very kind. You're very kind."
But that was the time we met Mick Jones at Outside Lands, and we still, I think I have my little plaque of the little pamphlet or flyer, and he signed both of ours, and that's the story of Mick Jones.
It's a cool story.
It is. Well, we talked to him originally, and I think we got the autographs, and then we were embarrassed to ask for a picture, and he walked away, and then we saw him like 20, 30 minutes later, and we're like, we should get a picture. So
we do have a picture.
You gotta document that moment, right?
Yeah, cool. Absolutely. I just remember because you picked us up that night, and we told you, and the whole way home you're just fucking Mick Jones.
Right. Yeah, I was kind of a little jealous. I think I was jealous. I was just gonna leave you there.
Yeah.
I'm not taking those guys home.
I mean, that was honestly the highlight for that. I mean, there was some great performances outside Lands that year, but I think that was the biggest highlight for both of us. And to go home and just like, holy shit, we met Mick Jones and took a picture with him, an autograph.
Yeah.
So that's my quick little story. I feel like we've told that one before, but I think it's always
repeating.
So super cool, and it's probably going to tie into some of our
very cool
top fives later on.
I love that. Hey Joey, did you by any chance receive any pictures from me earlier?
I don't know.
I sent them to your CSU MB account because I've got one more story if you'll indulge me.
Oh yes.
And so I'm going to tell this story. Okay. And so very careful. Look at the most recent one because it tells you the order of the pictures, which is very important.
Okay. All right.
We're going to insert these into the video part of it.
Yes.
When we do the video
edit. So
wonderful.
My wife and I, Sean's mum and I, go off Virginia. Well, we go off to Florida a few years ago for a wedding. And mysteriously, before we get to the wedding, we end up at a beautiful golf resort where we spend 2 days, and my wife goes to visit some relatives of hers while I play golf. And it's just terrible. laying out by the pool, golfing. It's just shocking. The next day, we're heading down towards West Palm Beach, and we're going to, just head down there, take a night to stay there, enjoy the beach down there, and then drive down to the Florida Keys where the wedding is going to be of my cousin and his future bride. So as we're driving down what they call Alligator Alley, which is, there's like alligators, on the edge of the road. And it's like, and some of them are like chopped in half because they've been run over and stuff, but there's clearly a lot of reptiles around. And we're in the Everglades. It's Florida. It's a giant, the whole state is a marsh. So it's very wet down there. And I see this big sign, and it says, Alligator Farm, tours of the Everglades, in these airboats, the kind that have got these massive propellers behind them and the kind of flat bottom things. I said, we got to go do this. So we go in and we see the person. They said, we have tours for 12 people, tours for 6, and, tours for just the 2 of you. I said, how about we do a tour for the 2 of us, and we'll, just take 2 hours or something. We can have a little run around. Oh, that's great. She said, in fact, we're going to give you Captain Gerald. He's one of our most experienced pilots, and he also lives in the Everglades, and he sometimes takes people to his house, and I'm thinking barbecues them or something like this, but he lets them take pictures from his roof, and you can get a 360-degree shot of the Everglades kind of thing. Oh, that sounds wonderful. And so we go outside and wait in line, and here comes Captain Gerald, and so it's really cool. So I think there's a picture that shows us you're going through these kind of channels with the sawgrass on either side, and you're kind of doing this, in the boat, they're kind of doing this, this like really cool, and it's loud as all heck, because you've got this massive, like a plane engine with a giant propeller behind your head, and you're sitting kind of elevated on seats, like bench seats. So, and there's wildlife flying all over the place. And every now and again, you slow down, there's an alligator in the thing, you get your camera out and you shoot a picture. Oh my God, he's right there. Unbelievable. And so we're sitting like in the front seat. There's a picture for this as well. And Captain Gerald is sitting behind us, right? And we're about 45 minutes into this trip. And I see this huge alligator, maybe 15 feet. I said, look at the size of that thing. And you have to shout, you're wearing, like headphones. He's got headphones on. So you have to say, like, look at that. See how big it is? And he's like, oh, we'll go take a look at it. And we're probably doing about 40 miles an hour. And he starts putting one of those boats, they don't turn like a boat turns. They kind of drift like a car, and you've got this, in essence, like not flat, but they're kind of flat. And this side, when you're turning sideways, puts a big piece against the water. And I just remember looking down and seeing these roots, and the whole thing just catapulted us over. And we just got thrown out into the Everglades with alligators, poisonous snakes, and all kinds of crap. And I mean, we hit the water at like 40 miles an hour. There's no land anywhere around us, except sawgrass, which is called sawgrass because it'll just slice you to pieces. Thank God we're in water that was only about waist deep. But it smelled like, whatever Jurassic Park smelled like 10 million years ago. We just disturbed something that had never been disturbed before. And I turned around and I looked at Captain Gerald and I said, what the fuck just happened there? And he went, well, that's never happened before. And I go, well, it just happened. Yeah. And I'm in the Everglades up to my waist in water. We just were 35 yards away from that 15-foot alligator. I said, if that thing comes around the corner, you have to fight it, okay? You live here. That's your job. I don't fight alligators. I'm not doing any of that stuff. In the meantime, I managed to lift your mother up and get her on the boat was now, and Joey, there's a picture for this. The boat is on its side, wedged in the water. So what you see when you're looking at the boat is sky where it should be water.
Oh, man.
And so she was on the boat, and trying to climb up on this thing was impossible because all the surfaces that previously are set up like this, when it's sideways, are now like this, or they're like knife edges. And of course, my shoes got sucked off when I hit the water, and I couldn't find my flip-flops. And Captain Gerald very generously said, maybe I can help you by giving you a knee up. I put my knee here, you can stand on it, and you'll be able to climb up onto the boat. And so I put my 240 pounds on his knee, and he sank about 3 feet into the swamp. And it was just useless. So I said, that was a good idea, but let's just not do that. So the next thing we do is I said, well, I'm sure you've got like, flares and a satellite radio and all that kind of stuff. He went, no, I don't. I said, do you have any kind of a radio at all? And he's like, no. And so I go, oh my God. So I reached into my pocket, which is underwater, and to get my cell phone out. And it's just dialing everybody I've ever known in my entire life. It's just going crazy. Apps are opening. It's soaking wet. It's just shorting out, basically. I said to your mother, look, maybe in your bag it's okay, with the zipper on. She opens the bag up, and it's like one of those comedy films, where the fish come out and everything. It's like all this dirty water came out. And we were like one generation away from those phones that you can drop in the water for 30 minutes or something, and they still work. And so I'm just looking at Captain Gerald thinking, well, we're going to be found draped over this boat, dead. And our kids will say, what the hell happened to these guys? And why is there a skeleton over there all eaten by alligators and stuff? Anyway, he reaches into his top pocket and he pulls out a Motorola flip phone, like those plastic kind of things. And at first I was just like, oh my God, we're doomed here. This is the end of it. And then I thought, actually, I've taken one of those apart. And I remember inside, it's like a little square of rubber that kind of presses up against it and would almost form like a quasi-watertight seal. And he opened it up and pressed the button, and it was on speaker, and it went, and I was just like, oh, thank God for that. And he pressed the button, and it goes, dring, 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 dring. Hi, you've reached the Sawgrass Alligator Farm. And I went, you don't have like a backdoor number. You're calling the main number of the place. And he's like, yeah, there's only one number. And I'm like, oh my God, we could be here forever because if they get a lot of phone calls. Anyway, eventually he gets through, and he's like, they're like, hello. And he goes, oh, hey, it's Captain Gerald. They go, oh, hey, Captain Gerald, how are you? He goes, well, not so great, which was probably an understatement, to be honest. He said, but I just flipped a boat over and I've got 2 guests in the water. And they went, what? Oh my God, where are you? And he goes, on the way to my house. And then he hangs up. And I'm like, what? Are you mentally ill? I said, you know, the first rule of any film is you stay on the phone. We can beat your horn or something. We can hear you. You're getting closer, that kind of thing. He's like, oh, they know where we are. And I looked around, and we're just in like a giant swamp. There's no points of reference. There's nothing. And 45 minutes later, they came right to our boat because they knew he was heading to his house, and they know the best way to get there. But I tell you what, I mean, so we get back to this, we get in the boat, they take us back to this place, and we have to go and use the staff shower, which is just, you can imagine, it's the staff shower, okay? This is like, probably looks worse than what they take the monkeys and shit to shower in. It was unbelievable. And there's me and Mrs. Day getting all showered, and we're just completely can't believe we're still alive. I mean, we should have been killed. There's no doubt about it. When you hit that water at 40 miles an hour, it's over. It's like concrete. Your mum had a bruise that went from here to here on the inside of her arm that went yellow like the next day, and just looked like I was an abusive husband or something. It was terrible. But that was just an amazing story. And then we had to go to a wedding after this. Yeah, so we have to go to this wedding.
Same day, yeah.
It was a couple of days later. But I did realize that when I got to the hotel we checked into that night in Palm Beach, and we must have looked like we were shell-shocked, just zombies, just walking in there. And I said, do you have a laundry service? And he said, yeah. And I gave him this little bag of clothes, but it weighed a ton because it was soaking wet. And he went, oh my God, what's up with that? And I just give him a very brief version of the story. He went, oh my God, go to the bar and have a drink right away. He said, on us, we don't want that to be your last experience of Florida. So I go to the bar, and the bartender said, the guy said you got a fantastic story. And I told him the story, and he bought me a drink. And I was like, I need to start working on this story a little bit, You're
going to workshop it.
Get some money off of this thing, yeah. So that was my Florida story. Yeah.
That is a very good one.
That's a good, yeah.
So I think that's 5.
Yeah.
Or we had 5. Wow.
That's 5.
Some good Mike Day stories there.
In no particular order.
I like that.
We got good.
We got pictures, so we'll insert them into the video. So when people watch,
yeah. Those are. I mean,
crazy.
Those tell a pretty good story. I always call the one of Virginia and I sitting in the boat with Captain Joel behind her. Virginia and I in happier days. Oh my God. I still can't believe that happened to us, to be honest, and that we're here to tell the story. It was just so crazy.
That is nuts. That's an episode of a TV show or something. You know what I mean? Like that's
right. Yeah.
Wild.
But in Florida, I think that's normal.
There was one night when I was still living on Lane Street in Monterey. I got a text from you. I was already out. Actually, I was at the bars with my buddy Ricky. And you texted me and said, I'm on Alvarado Street, come find me. And there's 20 bars on Alvarado Street, but I was like, I know where he is. And we went to the Duck.
Crown and Anchor.
No, we were at the Duck,
The Lucky Duck.
Or now it's the Bull and Bear.
Bear and Bull or something, yeah, Bull and Bear.
Some bullshit, yeah. It's because people got stabbed there when New Year's Eve. We got to rebrand. Yeah. Like, I think this is the perfect brand. But but yeah, so then I actually have video from that night of you telling that story to a crowd of people in the back section.
Oh, is that right? That was the CDW guys, right?
Yeah. So yeah, that was the night where I was drinking craft beers, and then we hooked up with you, and you started buying me just I don't know how many Jamesons, and then you're like, come back to the hotel, and you put a goblet of red wine in my hand, and next thing I know, I'm thrown up in a planter box. And somehow managed to get into a lift, and the whole way home, whenever we were at a red light, just
yeah.
That was a good night.
that was a good night.
That was fun.
Now, how are we going to do the next top 5?
All right. Well, we already kind of touched on the Clash, and I think it's up there for all of us. I don't know if they're my favorite band of all time, but they're certainly in the top 5. And I think they kind of rank somewhere similar for both of you too. Am I wrong in this?
Yeah, they're definitely in my top 5. Yeah.
Right on.
Oh yeah.
So with a couple of reservations.
Like we don't cut the crap or even combat rock, but we're not going to go. We're not going to be. We're not going to go. This is not a negativity show.
No.
But I was like, all right, well, if we sneak in, something other than stories, I want to know what your top 5 Clash songs are. I want to get in depth with, because you have been kind of our mentor of music in a way. So I'm curious what how you would rank them.
Well, this is tough, actually. I sometimes think when you guys are trying to pull out, your top 5s, it's always got to be difficult. But there's a pretty extensive catalog to look at here.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know you guys ran through each album previously, and one of the things that I really, as I was thinking about this, particularly today, I thought to myself, there are some albums that I just, I probably should give them another listen, but some albums that I just wasn't real, they just never really caught me. And there are certain songs, like for example, I just can't stand to hear Rock the Casbah. It's
great.
How some people use, it really is. And I guess it's so overplayed here, and it's like a lot of people have that vision of the Clash, and it feels all wrong to me, anyway. So my number 5. And these are ranked, and as of today.
This is
again subject to listening to something else tomorrow. But I've got at number 5, English Civil War.
Ooh, yeah,
that's a good one.
And I think this was a really difficult album for the Clash, because they just came off, probably one of the best debut albums for any band, and certainly of that genre, so cutting and so socially aware. And then came, Give 'Em Enough Rope, and it was a fairly sizable change in direction in many cases, and I think felt a lot different. But you go back and sometimes as well, time is a good filter for some of these things. You listen to something, you're like, I'm not sure I really like that band, and then you go back and you're like, wow, I'm experiencing some of this right now with some bands from the 70s, like Bread and people like that just have these amazing songs to listen to. But this one just, the English Civil War was in full flight in Thatcher's Britain. It was, it was a lot of unrest. There was police violence in the streets. We had miners on strike and all those kinds of things. It seemed like all that was around the same time. I'm sure, maybe I'm blurring some lines, but the punk movement was born out of, I think, just a feeling of disenfranchisement with society, and a willingness to push boundaries a little bit. And, we had a sizable, I think I've talked to you about this before, both of you, there was a sizable nationalist movement going on back then called the National Front, who were, really diametrically opposed to the experiences that we were having as young people. Our friends were from all kinds of different varying backgrounds. We loved reggae music and things like that. They were all integral. And people like, a lot of black people, a lot of gay people, and punks were kind of driven together because we could tolerate each other without any problem. It was just like live and let live. So I think that, this is another song by The Clash that just kind of, was interesting. And I just, it's probably the only Tommy Guns on that album as well, I think. And I've always really liked that song as well. But English Civil War for me off that album is one of my favorites. Judy's Been Working for the Drug Squad is also
that's a good one.
A really, really good song on that thing. So that was my
Safe
number
European
5.
Home is my favorite on that album.
Yeah.
I do have a question though for you, because you're saying, or you just said that you felt Give Enough Rope was kind of different than their first album. When I listen to it, I think it's a very similar, lesser experience to their self-titled debut. And then you get to London Calling, and then that's where I feel like, whoa, who are these guys? So I'm just like, what's the difference that you hear?
I think the urgency of the first record is pretty amazing. I think the production values are completely different. If you look at the use of harmonies in this, like with things like Safe European Home's a great example. They've got that Safe European Homes going on in the background, and it's kind of like that. It's not like a punk version of something. It's like a song version of something. It's like real songs, right? They've crafted those songs, I think, with more attention to detail. I don't remember, different producer, I think, as well. So I think that, makes a difference as well. So I think, for me, the rawness of the first album, just came across as completely different. And it was, now I look back and I say, okay, it was probably one of the most orderly transitions that we've ever seen of maturity. Remembering, of course, that probably a lot of what Joe Strummer was doing prior to the first Clash album was probably more like what he was doing in London Calling and on the second album. So he had to kind of devolve a little bit to go to the first Clash album and get a little bit raw. And I think that was a lot of his living circumstances. He was squatting in London and doing some things that were, a little bit off the mainstream. There was all the other energy around at that time, and kind of the involvement of things like fashion had never really been a massive thing with music. It was just kind of like you got bell bottoms on and you wore your stuff and did your thing. And then all of a sudden it was like it was okay to just wear crazy stuff, and if you got like I used to have a jacket from like a postal worker or something, and it was just, it was an old one, but it looked kind of cool, and it was different, and people adopted things, and it was, I think it was to me, and it still is, it's kind of like I think I've said this again to you guys, it's kind of it's not a way of life, but it's an ethos. It's kind of being punk. Anybody can be a punk, and I don't mean like a punk, jackass. I'm just saying that I think it's how you look at things, and you can't be a right-wing punk. By nature, it's leaning to the more socially justice type stuff. Anyway. So that's my number 5, and that's my explanation. I hope that meets your requirements there.
I like it.
Do you want number 4?
Please.
Are we doing that, or are you guys gonna go? Okay.
We want to go.
Well, so number 4 for me, I picked Career Opportunities. I just love this song. It's so singable, first of all, and it's just so great. I think Mick Jones was writing. He worked at the post office, and at that time, as I was just talking about, we had the IRA bombings where they were blowing up places in London all the time, and one of the most common delivery methods was a letter bomb. And so, so what they started doing was the post office. This is, remember we went back before technology existed to do stuff like X-ray things and all that. I did not thought of that. They'd like casually open a letter and see if there was a bomb inside, and that was that reference to, I want to open letter bombs for you, in that song. But I think that whole thing, it was just about the hopelessness at that time. I think of in England, we had a lot of people who were unemployed. We had again this kind of a lot of social unrest with lots of things going on, and for me, it's just a great song. The pacing's really, really good, and it's got that kind of really great feel to it in the career opportunity, the one and never not. It's just a great song. I mean, Joey, I know you love that song as well.
I love it. I'm partial to the version on Sandinista sung by children.
Okay.
Not really.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it's a really good song. It's it might be the only Clash song I know how to play like by heart on guitar and shit.
Hey.
How about that?
It's a good one.
There's something to think of. Yeah.
We gotta play some more Clash songs, Joey.
I know.
Yeah.
We've never done that.
Let's do it.
I'm gonna go with number 3. Number 3. I love this song. The Card Cheat.
Yes.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Dun 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 dun.
Dun, 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 boom, dun, 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 Phil Spector's in the house kind of thing. Right? Such a great start to the song. And then the lyrics just building, up, and you can just get the sense of the whole thing. You can kind of visualize it in your head.
Yeah.
London Calling is just a special piece of work overall. But I think so many songs stand out, and I was just, my kind of the contenders, if you like. I got Lost in the Supermarket, which was it was really quite revolutionary, because that was the Clash doing disco at that time. So that was like anathema to the punk. It was the opposite. That was what they were rebelling against. So when they did that drum beat, kind of. It was like, oh, they went disco, it's the worst thing that could ever happen. And then we listened to the album, oh my God, that album's fantastic. And I had Spanish Bombs on there as well, as also a backup, because I just love that song as well. Spanish Bombs is just great. But the Card Cheat, also, a really good Mick Jones vocal there.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite line in that one, it sounds when he goes, what's the line? There's something wrong here, he thinks. It sounds like he almost turns away from the microphone, or it's an afterthought of a word. It's it's very good.
Really, really, really outstanding song.
Shot.
Anyway,
Dead.
Number 2. One of the great things about the Clash and many of the bands around them at that time was their acceptance and incorporation of reggae music and ska music and the influences. And the part of a big part of London was Brixton, which was just a huge black community where a lot of the reggae scene was coming out of there. And again, because of this cross-pollination between punks and reggae, I think it fit naturally.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a little counterculture, back then, until bands like the Police started to make it a little bit more popular. And then people like UB40 came along with Specials and all that. And you could see that thing kind of grow out of that. But yeah, White Man in Hammersmith Palais, Just a spectacular song, great bass line. You could just imagine that in a big old booming sound system, just shaking your stomach like crazy. It's just a really, really good song. And, great vocals again on that. I mean, it's a different sound to that time of their existence. That was around the time of that first album. I think it was on the first album in the US, but not on the first album in the UK. It was a B-side to White Riot, I think. And it's just a really, 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 great song. And it's also quite long, which again, that was a bit of a break from tradition, because bands were pumping out, it was like the Beatles in the early days. It was like 1:30 and you were out, if you couldn't say everything you wanted to say in 1:30, speed it up, So this is again, so a lot of times they kind of threw out, I think, things that were, to their core audience were understood, but to a broader audience maybe helped to bring them into experience something like maybe listen to some reggae bands or whatever. And I think I saw the Specials when they were called the Coventry Automatics, and they toured with the Clash. So we saw them, and so they also brought along other bands that had that kind of leaning, yeah. And look at I think Don Letts, who was involved with Big Audio Dynamite. Don Letts has been a producer and a sound engineer and DJ in London, and known those guys from back in the day. And now he's like a big shot kind of guy. So White Man in Hammersmith Palais, a great song. And then my number one, it really couldn't be anything else, to be honest. White Riot. What a song. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that, when we heard these songs, it was like pure magic, to be honest. It's just like, it just seemed to just grab you by the balls and just tell you, listen, we know what we know what you're feeling. It doesn't feel great, but we're here with you. It's a fantastic song. Even just the starting, just that siren, right? You just know some shit's going on here. It's going to be good, and it just gets better, and it's unvarnished. It's saying things that were probably a little bit uncomfortable for a lot of people at that time, but it's just here it is. It is what it is. Take it or leave it, and I just think it's one of, that's in my top 5 singles, and because I think it just brings so much to the table. It's just so awesome. And it's not a long song, and it's, it's kind of a little shouted, but everything just makes it so right. I love that the fire bell at the end, right? As it gets towards the end, it just kind of like goes, it's just like, it's going to be an emergency, okay? The rest of the album is coming, and it's going to be an emergency situation. It's going to be so great. And that's how we felt. We put that stuff on a record player. Remember back then, no CDs or anything. It was on the record player. You sit with 3 of your friends, and you just put that on, and you just hear, and you just think, oh my God, it's going to go off. And it did. And you're like, wow, this is awesome. And then next week you're lined up for Buzzcocks or something. And so great stuff. So, I mean, that was a difficult 5. I also had on there, on my kind of, contenders, Police and Thieves, which another just, a cover song. Junior Mervyn was the original singer of that song. But again, I think it just showed the respect that they had for their area where they lived and the community that they lived in, because, that was a song that was well known to many of us already, but not the Clash version. We were used to hearing the original version. And it, it happened with people like UB40. They did songs by other artists, some of which were, ska songs, and some of which weren't ska songs, and so I think, the Clash were one of the first groups, non-Jamaican or Afro-Caribbean in England, to really do that commercially.
Nice.
So,
Nice.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
I didn't pull anything off Sandinista, and I didn't pull anything off some of those other, those aren't. I was telling Sean, I'm not a big fan of necessarily of all the Clash records.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those first 3 are or money. I mean, Sandinista's good, but it's more of a mood. You're not. I don't think you're going to find individual songs off that album to kind of, ooh, I just want to listen to this right now. Maybe Police on My Back, or
Yeah.
I do like the choir one that they've got. Sounds of the Center.
Sounds Center.
I think on Sandinista.
I mean, it's been so long since I listened to it, because I listened to it, 3 or 4 times and just said, it's not for me. I kind of feel like Sandinista is like Mike Tyson going back to fight now at age 55 or something. If you pull out after you've done London Calling, your career is set in gold for the rest of your life, right? Just 3 monster albums. And when you look back at them, the progression was just like, it was linear. But unbelievable energy, and then a little bit more polish, and then, oh my God, all the polish you need. And I think, from that perspective, a great trajectory that just suddenly went in my mind.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like the top 5.
I like it a lot.
Okay. Yeah.
Jonathan, would you like to go next? Would you like I to go next? How do you want to do this?
I'll go next. I'm
going to let you go next.
That's I know my dad has obviously a connection with the Clash, and I think that's really cool. And we both Joey and I owe it to him for our punk history, our rock and roll history. But I remember listening to a lot of these songs. I remember listening to like London Calling in the car, with my dad, and a lot of great Clash songs. So my top 5, I do have Career Opportunities as number 5.
Okay.
Again, a very kind of similar to some of the earlier stuff too, is the kind of the energy, high energy, and very singable songs. And I can imagine what it would be like to see them live and have the crowd kind of share that same energy with the Clash. So that's probably why I picked that one. I think it just has a lot going about it. So number 5, Career Opportunities. Number 4, I Fought the Law. Probably another one too that the crowd can join along on. And
another cover as well, interestingly enough.
Yeah, another cover too as well from those guys. And funny enough, I've heard other covers of that too. After the Clash,
Green Day
did one.
Green Day very famously. Yeah.
But I Fought the Law for number 4.
Excellent,
love it.
Oh man, I have to flip these around because these are too good. Okay, I'm gonna go number 3, Janie Jones.
I love
which is
song.
the track 1 off their debut album, which is
the UK release.
The UK release, which is probably one of my favorite openings to an album. So I think that's probably one of the biggest reasons. Biggest reasons for that one. So number 3, Janie Jones. And then I've got, these are my tough ones. I always love these songs. I'm gonna go 2, Lost in the Supermarket. That bass line is just like one of my favorite bass lines ever. and it's got probably some of my favorite vocals from like Mick Jones. I think he has such a really beautiful melody in the song, and again, it's very.
He sounds like Mick Jones talks in that song.
That's a good way to describe it. And I think that's a very unique approach for the Clash on this one. And then for number 1, I've got Clamp Down. I really love the song.
Ooh. I love that song. I love Clamp Down. Yeah.
I love how it starts too. It's very, they got the feedback from the guitar.
Screeching,
kind of chaotic. And they do this, this kind of like, almost like there's like 2 sections of the song. They have this like really interesting intro to the song. And then it just kind of, all the like chaos and feedback kind of rings out for a little bit. And then you just hear 1, 2, 3, 4. And then they go into their whole part. I don't know. I really love the song. It's again probably one of my favorite Clash songs. High energy, has all the elements of what the Clash are in that song. And I have a lot of runner-ups, but I mean I could just say London Calling, and that whole record is just like probably one of my favorite records of all time. But Clamp Down for number 1.
Excellent.
I like it. That's a good list, Shawnee.
Thank you. Joey.
Well, we all 3 had opportunities, but I'm striking it. Because we can talk more Clash. We're gonna get to talk more Clash.
Right.
Number 5, I'm gonna go Rudy Can't Fail.
Ooh, I like that song.
I you know what? I think if I ever have a child, Rudy, because I don't want them to fail. I think that's what they're gonna be named. But what a great it sounds like a song you've heard before. You know what I mean? Like, it sounds like, oh, what else could this be? You know what I mean? It's just the melody feels familiar. You know what I mean? It's instantly. It's really good. Number 4 was where
another reggae influenced kind of song.
For sure, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, Rude Boys, part of that whole culture, ska culture, Rudies.
Yeah, and it's I mean, it's just, you just want to sing along to it. It's an upbeat.
It is a very fun, happy
song. Number 4, I'm gonna go. It was Career Opportunities. I'm gonna go Safe European Home. Off Give Enough Rope. And I believe that's the first track off of that record, or is that track 2?
Ooh,
I think it might be Safe European. I really like it. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about it. I just like it. It's a good one.
It's a good one.
Yeah,
it's good. Let's have a drink, Joe, to celebrate Safe European Homes.
Safe European
Virtual
Homes.
cheers.
Yeah.
My biggest mistakes on picking up beer tonight.
I'll do some sound effects for you, Sean.
Yeah.
That was Sean having a virtual
drink for y'all.
Yo.
Got my empty glass of water here.
Virtually thirsty.
Yeah.
Number 3, I'm gonna go Death or Glory.
Oh,
this to me is a real punk song. You know what I mean? Especially the line about nuns later join the church. You know, like you're like, ooh, yeah, that's just. Ends up making payments on a sofa or a girl. Yeah, done both those things. It's so good. Like that's right? It's a march. It's an anthem. It's yeah, I don't know. And and then it's got that great middle section, you know, you gotta fight your brother, raise hell, bum, bum, you know, it goes right back into it. It's so like, that's a fist moment right there, you know, like that's just, yes, bitch, get it. Yeah, I fucking love Death or Glory. Number 2, I'm gonna go Hate and War.
Hate and War, okay.
I think it's a really underrated track off their first album, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but both Joe Strummer and Mick Jones get to sing on that song, and they complement each other very well. And you've got Joe Strummer just going hate, 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 and it's awesome. But there's good melodies in there, and yeah, I love Hate and War. It's great.
Yeah, I think when I was talking earlier that if you go back, pre the Clash, Joe Strummer was playing in kind of these pub bands, and they were probably doing some original stuff, and it was in a group called the 101ers, I think, and they probably did some original stuff, but they probably did some covers as well. And I think he didn't come into the Clash as like a 16-year-old kid who'd never written any songs before. He knew how to structure songs and how to build them, and some of those like Hate and War's got some different kind of timing almost in it. It kind of goes to some choppy stuff, and it's got a lot going on. Hate, like that thing you're talking about, that hate, and then it kind of builds back up again. So yeah, it's a good song.
Yeah, I really adore that song. Number 1, Jimmy Jazz.
Oh, Jimmy Jazz.
I love it. Yeah.
That's a good song.
That's a great song.
I love Jimmy Jazz. It's it's almost sleepy in Joe Strummer's delivery, and he's just talking, and it's like you can't mimic that. You can't learn how to kind of stumble your way through words like that's all that has to be natural. You know what I mean? Those were just takes that he was kind of flubbing on, and they're like, sounds good, let's leave it in. It's the song is loose enough that it can allow for that, but tight enough that it holds together. And yeah, I really love Jimmy Jazz. I said now with Jimmy Jazz, I said he was here, but it's just so good. It's so good, and it feels like a very much a Clash song. You've got story, you've got kind of, it's not a romantic song. It's they tackle real topics. They're kind of they're the streets, they're a mean streets kind of band, and that's it. So
cool stuff.
Yeah.
So a few, I guess career opportunities kind of made it to everybody's list, even though you did delete it, Joy. But that's kind of interesting. Yeah, I think it just shows that there's a great diversity, in their collection. A lot of really great songs to choose from, and all probably worth a good re-listen. I probably listen to London Calling at least twice a month, to be honest. It's right up there. There's some albums I just can't stop listening to them. One of the ones I've just been really getting into right now is David Bowie's Scary Monsters and Super Creeps. Some of the guitar work on there, Robert Fripp, and I think Eno's helping out on keyboards as well. It's just really just great album. Sorry, I just devolved into share time by mistake, but
hey,
oh, wonderful!
No, that's perfect. Perfect segue. Yeah, perfect segue.
Yeah,
segue man.
Yeah.
So that's our recommended, music education from Mike Day is some Bowie in there, usually, right?
Always.
Always.
There are so many great albums to choose from. I mean, if you just go back and listen, Sean and I bought, a couple for you, and you've heard a lot over here. But he really does have an extensive and incredibly diverse back catalog of just awesome and some shitty albums as well, to be honest. I wasn't really a massive fan of some of the stuff he did with Tin Machine and some of his later albums. But again, I probably should go back and give it a re-listen and open my mind a little bit to some of that stuff. But when you have such an early career or extensive career with so much goodness in it, it's kind of hard to emulate that later on,
Yeah.
And some of his stuff, I think if I had one song, to listen to for the rest of my life, I'd probably pick Life on Mars, to be honest. It's just an epic, wonderful song that's just got so much in it. So, yeah, always recommend David Bowie.
Hey.
Right on. I've never gotten into Bowie too much. I like Rebel Rebel, and that's really kind of the only one I could probably name off the top of my head.
Okay, well, that's a good start.
But I'm gonna take your advice. Scary Monsters and Super Creeps. I like that title.
Excellent
Super
stuff.
Creeps.
Wonderful. Hell yeah. Jonathan, do you have anything you'd like to share with our dear, sweet, lovely, imaginary audience this week?
Not much, actually, honestly. Yeah, that's pretty much all I got this week.
Riveting.
But I don't know. I'm excited for. I don't know. I'm actually really excited that we had my dad on today. Just take a chance to thank him for putting the time and coming on the show. So, and
Very much.
Go ahead. I've got more share time as well, so don't forget me.
Perfect.
Oh, okay.
Perfect.
Well, please.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to come prepared, so I got my beer because I figured you're supposed to drink. I told you I brought my sound effects so I could join in and make it up. And then I wanted to share. Most people who are probably listening to this, or maybe it's interesting. Your viewership may go down by 1 this week because I've already been in the podcast. So, why should I bother watching it? But I did want to, as if you don't know, I'm not a big fan of our current administration, and so I've got a couple of books that I'm reading right now. Here's one called Compromise by Peter Strzok. He was a FBI agent. He's the one that Trump always says, and his lover, whatever her name was, and it's actually a really, really, really interesting account.
That R is backwards, though.
Russia. Joey. And then I also just received today something that's quite current in the news, Rage by Bob Woodward. Bob Woodward was one of the duo that were responsible for the Watergate investigation. And he just astonishingly interviewed Donald Trump 18 times, which if you knew Bob Woodward's investigative journalism credentials, there is no way you would sit and have 18 interviews with him this close to an election, because he's clearly going to say something. And so he had the wisdom to tape everything. So now he's releasing the audio tapes, which are not exactly great. So I love to read books, and I like to educate myself about what's going on in the world. And so books are a great way to do that. I've got quite an extensive library of shitty novels, which I love to read fiction a great deal, because I like to create those things in my mind, you know, the image of a place or a character or whatever. And so I'm interested to finish these. I'm about halfway through Compromised, and Rage just arrived. I've got one more coming, I think, later this week. And so I'll be in the midst of whatever crazy stuff is in this thing.
Yeah.
So.
I like it.
Cool. Got some book
Hell
recommendations.
yeah.
Nice.
That was very good.
Joey, do you got anything to share, man? Yeah.
I came prepared, Joey.
Thank you for preparing. Better than my co-host.
Yeah. There's nothing going on in my life right now, so.
I want to give a shout out to the Debatable podcast, who had us on last night.
That's true.
For their Sexisode. We talked our favorite after sex snacks and our favorite sexual positions, and we had a blast. We've never been on.
That was so much fun, dude.
We've been on the Three Friends podcast, but that was kind of our first venturing out with, you know, people we've never met before, and it was fun. It was a good time. We were on Twitch. We broke our Twitch virginity.
Okay.
And it was so give those guys that was a blast. That was so much fun.
Joey, I'm on Twitch too, would you believe?
Are you on Twitch? I'm not on Twitch.
Well, see, you know, because Sean's on Twitch for the Sonic Riders
music production stuff, but we're starting to do it. But that experience was super cool. I you know, hats off to those guys, and I think it's pretty cool that we're able to reach out to other podcasts and have this kind of community. And I guess we'll be on Spotify soon. Finally found out.
We got to figure that out.
Answer to that. It's actually a lot easier than I thought. So.
Okay, good.
But yeah.
Right on.
So yeah, it was great.
Cool.
Thanks,
Right on.
Excellent.
Mr. J, where can we find you on the internet?
Probably
if you want to be found
out of nowhere. If you look on Facebook for some maniac that is always complaining about Donald Trump, that will be me. I'm on Facebook.
I don't know that you're the only one.
Yeah.
You're probably one of them.
Yeah. Actually, I will say for all the problems with that platform, it's still a great way for me to stay in touch with, you know, like my family back in the UK. My mother's a prolific commenter on Facebook. I would say everything's always, "Ooh, that's lovely, very lovely. That's lovely. Ooh, what a lovely picture." And then, you know, like, you know, Sean's cousins, my nephew and niece, we can kind of keep up a little bit with them. I ended up, you know, being stuck on about every social media platform. I just can't deal with it. So I need like an aggregator that just puts everything out one time, just bothers everybody. So yeah, I just go on Twitter once a day and just tell Donald Trump to go fuck himself, and that's it.
I gotta find you on Twitter. Twitter's a good time.
Yeah, for a good time.
Jonathan, where can we find your work on the internet this week?
You guys can find me on Instagram at Sean Day Music, and on my website, seandaymusic.net. Net.
Wow.
Joey, where can we find you?
You can check me out on Twitter, Joey Prati, and on my website, joeypratiscripts.com. You can check out the show at Top 5 Pod. That's TOPFIVE 5 POD on Instagram, on Twitter at gmail.com, and on YouTube. We're on Facebook at Top 5 Podcast, Google Play, SoundCloud, and Apple Music. So please give us a like, give us a listen, give us a follow, give us your love, and we will give you
so many great memories in return. Could never come up with that one.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us this evening. You will have to come on again soon, and hopefully there'll be more stories to share at that time.
Hell yeah.
You never know.
You never know. Until next time, I'm Joey Brody.
And I'm Sean Day.
And I'm Mr. Day to you two.
There we go. Thanks.
For listening.
Wonderful. That was very
Sayonara,
good.
kids.